when we think of serving God, because we don't have the full consciousness of the highly evolved spiritual beings, we think more in terms of, yeah, I'll serve God, I get off at 5, like this. But the principle of life, it works in cycles. There are high periods of activity, but there are also the rest points in eternity. And so if we can know a principle like this here, we can use it for our own health. It's like this. You learn to go with the spirit of life. This is a greater law even than the ekvijja, whereby we wish to foresee the future so that we can sidestep the problems and troubles that would come to us. Because finally, when you rise in consciousness, you know that it doesn't matter where you're serving the Sugmad.
Before we begin, I want to extend a simple invitation. If you have ever heard the word Ekankar and wondered what it is about, or if you are simply curious about spiritual teachings and self-discovery, you are welcome to attend an Ekankar seminar happening very soon in Soweto, Johannesburg, on the 27th to 29th of March 2026. These events are open to the public and are free of charge. They offer an opportunity to listen, to ask questions, to explore for yourself in a relaxed environment. You don't have to belong to anything. Just come with an open heart or curiosity. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to My Journey Faith for Compassion Hub. My name is Beatrice. On this channel, I share personal spiritual reflections inspired by Ekankar teachings and my journey of growth and understanding. This space is not an Ekankar page, but a place where I reflect and invite others into a thoughtful contemplation. Today, I want to reflect on something that is both powerful and sobering. It is a talk that speaks about service, exhaustion, the limit of the physical body, and what it truly means to serve spirit. It also challenges the way we think about protecting ourselves from difficulty. As you listen, I invite you not only to focus on the personalities involved, but also focus on the principles behind the story.
Another fellow who saw Paul after the ambulance people brought him down from the hotel room. This was really, I hope to get some of these stories out perhaps by next year when we are 20 years since 1965, our 20-year anniversary. Perhaps at the Worldwide next year we can start getting some of this into some form. The stories about Paul and the remembrances of the Ekkas, and try to get out something, because this is the historical nature of Ekankar, which is important for its survival in the future. Well, anyway, there had been a number of people downstairs in the restaurant eating with Paul. I forget what kind of a sandwich he had, but it was on white bread, And this should make every third or fourth person among you fall down because you're health food faddists. Well, anyway, he wasn't feeling well apparently, and so he took his sandwich up to the room, and a little while later another person came down, talked to somebody else who was in the party, and they left quickly and went upstairs and all this, and to see, and of course Paul had translated then from a heart attack, according to the coroner's report, or the attending physician. And when some of the Ekkas at the time, they were long hairs, not exactly the flower children of the 70s, late 60s and early 70s, but they went into contemplation right in front of the elevator in the lobby because they knew that something had happened up in the room. And they got out of the way when the door opened because, they were going to carry this stretcher out and, this thing was on it. And the person who had been contemplating got up, looked at the stretcher going past, And he said, you know, that was the most worn out body he had ever seen in his whole life. He doesn't think there was anything more worn out on earth. No human being had ever served so close to the total capacity of his human body as did Paul Twitchell, even to the point of not recognizing it. After the poisoning of Paul in 1970, he carried on with the mission and with his duties as the Mahanta. And as I mentioned, when he wrote the Act Discourses, we as the editors can now see the days he was too sick to write them, but he wrote them anyway because there was a deadline. This was an interesting thing because the Ek drove Peter Zask's body, the physical form, which we knew as Paul Twitchell, drove it until it just simply wouldn't run anymore. This is actually the ultimate service to the Sugmat as a co-worker to God. Paul served the Spirit of life to the extreme measure of which he was capable of doing. When we think of serving God, because we don't have the full consciousness of the highly evolved spiritual beings, we think more in terms of, yeah, I'll serve God, I get off at 5, like this. It doesn't mean that you work yourself into a state of exhaustion, although sometimes you may get to a state of exhaustion. But the principle of life, it works in cycles. There are high periods of activity, but there are also the rest points in eternity. And so if we can know a principle like this here, we can use it for our own health. You can drive yourself only so long. You can eat junk food only so long. And some people's bodies are stronger than others, and they can do it longer. But you have to know when you're strong and when you can do the things that tax your body. And you have to know when your body energy is down and when you have to be gentle and easy with it. The same principle comes with presenting the Ek message. You present the Ek message when there's someone who wants to listen. But if no one wants to listen, well, then don't go telling them something they don't want to hear. It's like this. You learn to go with the Spirit of life. This is a greater law even than the Ek Vijja, whereby we wish to foresee the future so that we can sidestep the problems and troubles that would come to us. Because finally, when you rise in consciousness, you know that it doesn't matter where you're serving the Sugmat, whether it's in the physical body or in one of the other bodies which are not to be seen by the physical eyes. And yet the life is as real as sitting right here, or as sitting right there, or as standing, as walking, as coming into the hall, as leaving the hall, going into a restaurant, coming out of a restaurant, going to a satsang class, or leaving it. Because the same things that you are doing here are probably what you're going to be doing there. The scope is going to be different, and you're going to have a different state of consciousness, more contentment, greater happiness. And yet there will be something that drives you on to look for more of truth.
A life spent completely on a spiritual mission. But here is the deeper question. When Harold describes Paul's body as the most worn-out body they had ever seen, it's not just the physical description. It symbolizes the total commitment, the extreme service, a life spent completely for spiritual mission. But here is the deeper question. Was that exhaustion the goal, or was it simply the result of serving to capacity? This challenges us, because many of us say, I want to serve, but we serve comfortably. We serve when it fits our schedule. Paul served until the body could not run anymore. And yet Harold carefully shifts the teachings. He does not glorify self-destruction. He introduces cycles. This part is very important. Life works in cycles. There are high periods. There are rest points in eternity. This is wisdom. Spiritual service is not constant exhaustion. It is alignment with rhythm. When energy is high, act. When energy is low, rest. When someone wants to hear, speak. When they don't, be silent. That is spiritual maturity. Not forcing, not pushing, not performing. Just moving with the spirit of life. And this might be the central teaching of this talk. But there is something even deeper. Harold says there is a greater law even than the egg figure, even greater than trying to foresee the future so that we can sidestep problems and troubles. That is powerful because many people want spiritual protection to avoid suffering, to escape difficulty. Side chick foresight. As human beings, and especially in African communities, we are used in seeking prophecy. We go to places where someone will tell us what they foresee. We want reassurance. We want to know if something greater is coming ahead. We want warning about danger. It gives comfort and it makes us feel prepared. And I was like that too. There was a time I wanted to know what was coming. I wanted to know what my future looked like. I wanted certainty. But what I have learned since finding Ekanka is something different. I began to understand that perhaps the greater law is not about knowing the future. It's about rising in consciousness. Not help me avoid problems, but help me grow through whatever comes. When you rise in consciousness, you are not trying to sidestep problems. You understand them. You grow through them. You are not afraid of where you serve, whether in the physical body or beyond. This is maturity. It is the difference between wanting prophecy and developing consciousness. There may be comfort in prophecy, but there may be something greater in growth. Another powerful shift in this talk is that it doesn't matter whether you serve in the physical body or another body. If service continues beyond the physical body, then death is not failure, it is transition. The word translated is the key, not died. Translated, that reframes mortality. The body may wear out, but consciousness continues, and service continues. There is also a gentle warning in this talk. You can drive yourself only so long. You can eat poorly only so long. You can push your body only so long. And that applies to spiritually too. You cannot overextend endlessly, ignore health, ignore emotional cycles, force spiritual conversation, because eventually the vehicle, which is the body, responds. The deeper teaching is not destroy yourself for service. It is know your rhythm. That is the higher wisdom than trying to foresee the future. The real message is this: learn to go with the spirit of life, not your ambition, not your spiritual ego, not your need to prove devotion, not your desire to be seen as serving, but the flow. When you rise in consciousness, service is not obligation. It becomes natural, just like breathing. So I find myself asking, is it greater to foresee and avoid difficulties, or to rise in consciousness and grow through them? Do you think rising in consciousness is more important than trying to avoid problems? How does this talk sound to you? Inspiring, challenging, or reflective? I would truly love to hear your thoughts. As I reflect on this talk, I am left asking myself, am I trying to avoid life's challenges, or am I rising in consciousness through them? Am I forcing service, or am I learning to move in rhythm with the spirit of life? Perhaps the greater law is not about controlling the future, but about trusting the unfolding. Until next time, may we walk gently, wisely, and in the rhythm with the spirit of life. If this teaching touched you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, may the light and sound of God guide your path. I love you all.